Elena Grayson had everything to live for. At 40, she was an accomplished mountaineer with an infectious smile and boundless ambition. Her son Luka was the center of her world, and her husband Nikolai, a legendary Russian climber known as the White Wolf, shared her passion for conquering the world's most dangerous peaks. But Elena had one dream that consumed her: to become the first American woman to reach the summit of Mount Everest without supplemental oxygen. It was a deadly goal, one that had already claimed the lives of many experienced climbers. In spring 1998, as she packed for the Himalayas, Elena left a note for Luka with a hand-drawn map and a simple message. "Hi, Luka. We're at base camp. Miss you and love you. Mom." She couldn't have imagined that 8 years later, a British climber would make a decision that would change everything about her story. May 17th, 1998, Everest Base Camp. The usual buzz of pre-summit energy filled the air, but Elena and Nikolai Grayson stood apart. They climbed without Sherpas, without oxygen tanks, without radios, a calculated risk only elite mountaineers dared take. Nikolai had earned the name White Wolf by summiting the 5 highest peaks in the former Soviet Union and completing a treacherous traverse of Kanchenjunga. Elena had matched him in daring and skill. Their first summit attempt on May 20th failed when their headlamps died. Their second try on the 21st ended after 50 meters. Each failure meant another night above 8,000 meters, in the death zone, where the human body begins to deteriorate. By May 22nd, their bodies were breaking down. But Elena wouldn't give up. At 1 a.m., they made their final summit push, into brutal cold and darkness without oxygen. By afternoon, they reached the top. Elena had done it, the first American woman to summit Everest without supplemental oxygen. But there was no celebration. The sun was fading, their strength gone. They had made the fatal error of summiting too late in the day. As they began their descent, disoriented and exhausted, they lost each other in the dark. By morning, Nikolai reached camp. Elena did not. Realizing his wife was still up there, Nikolai grabbed oxygen, medicine, and began climbing back into the death zone. Meanwhile, another climbing team, a group from Uzbekistan, had already found Elena near the summit. She was alive, but barely conscious. Frostbitten, delirious, unable to stand or move. They gave her oxygen, tried to help, but they were unsupported, low on supplies, and at risk themselves. Eventually, they had to leave, but before descending, they clipped her harness to a rope to keep her from falling. Later that night, they passed Nikolai climbing up in the dark. They told him where she was. It was the last time anyone saw Nikolai Grayson alive. May 24th, 1998. British climber Daniel Hayes and South African climber Emma Clark were 300 meters from the summit when Clark spotted something, a flash of purple. She approached, and what she found would haunt her for the rest of her life. A woman was clipped to the fixed rope, body twisted, skin pale from frostbite, still breathing. It was Elena Grayson. She opened her eyes, whispered, "Don't leave me. Don't leave me here to die." Hayes and Clark tried everything, propping her up, feeding her oxygen, trying to get her to move. But Elena's body was limp, her mind slipping away, her pupils wide and dark. "If you can help us, we can move you down the mountain," Daniel told her. "If you don't, you're going to die." There was no response. She was conscious, but unreachable, her brain already damaged by oxygen deprivation. After more than an hour, frostbite setting in on the rescuers, they made an impossible choice. They left her. As they descended, Elena's last words echoed, "Why are you doing this to me?" Elena Grayson died alone on May 24th, 1998, still clipped to the rope just below the summit of Everest. She had achieved her dream, but at the highest price. The fate of her husband, Nikolai, remained a mystery. The last anyone saw him, he was climbing through darkness with oxygen and medicine, searching for his wife. His ice axe and rope were later found near Elena's body, but Nikolai was gone. Back home in Colorado, 10-year-old Luca Rossi waited for news that never came. His mother's last letter, with its cheerful message and map, became a heartbreaking artifact. On Everest, however, Elena's story had only just begun. Her body lay beside the main north route, highly visible, her purple jacket and peaceful face making her look like a sleeping doll. Climbers began calling her the Sleeping Beauty of Everest. For 8 years, she became a tragic landmark. Hundreds passed her. Some stopped in silence, others avoided her gaze. A few took photos that later circulated online. Her death turned into a grotesque spectacle. "Turn left at the woman in the purple jacket," climbers would say. No one moved her. The cost and danger of removing a body from 8,500 meters was staggering. Tens of thousands of dollars, an immense risk. And so, she remained. Frozen in place, a symbol of ambition, sacrifice, and loss. In 1999, a new expedition to Everest helped solve the second half of the mystery. Mountaineer Michael Trent found Nikolai's body lower on the mountain. He had apparently fallen while attempting to carry or drag Elena to safety. The evidence was clear. He had reached her. He had tried to save her. And he had died trying. The great white wolf, fearless, unmatched, had made the ultimate sacrifice. Now both he and Elena were part of Everest's eternal silence. Back in Britain, Daniel Hayes, the climber who had held Elena's hand in her final hours, couldn't forget her last words. "Don't leave me here to die." He had left her because he had no choice, but he carried the guilt. For 8 years, that memory haunted him. Until finally, in 2007, he returned to Everest with one purpose: to keep a promise. His expedition was unlike any in history, not to summit, but to recover Elena's body and lay her to rest with dignity. It would be called the Tow of Everest. The task was enormous, dangerous, possibly deadly. But for Hayes, it wasn't optional. It was necessary. Hayes and his team reached Everest's north side in May 2007, exactly 8 years after Elena's final words. They carried with them an American flag and a simple mission: to move Elena from public view and give her peace. They found her just as she had been, perfectly preserved by the cold. Purple jacket, dark hair fanned around her face, still looking like she was only sleeping. They held a brief but emotional ceremony at 8,500 meters. The flag was draped gently over her body. A prayer was said. For the first time in 8 years, Elena Grayson was treated not as a landmark, but as a human being. Then came the hardest task: moving her. In the thin air of the death zone, every movement was agony. But the team worked slowly, methodically, respectfully. They lowered her body to a less visible location and built a small cairn of stones, the only burial Everest allows. The next climbers on the route wouldn't see her, but she was there, safe, sheltered, finally at rest. Daniel Hayes later reflected, "This will be my last expedition, so I thought it was fitting to give something back." He didn't just give back. He gave Elena and Nikolai the respect they were denied for 8 years. He gave their son Luca something immeasurable: the knowledge that his mother mattered, not just to those who loved her, but to strangers. Luca, now a grown man, still keeps her last letter, and now he also carries the story of what came after. The story of a promise kept. Elena Grayson dreamed of standing on the roof of the world, and she did. But her story isn't just about summits. It's about love, the kind that pushes a man back into the death zone to save the woman he loves. It's about sacrifice, the choice to die trying rather than live with regret. It's about humanity, the climbers who tried to help, and one man who, 8 years later, came back to finish what kindness demanded. Elena's final words, "Don't leave me," echo still, not as guilt, but as a call to remember that dignity matters, that compassion endures, that even on the world's most unforgiving mountain, the best of humanity can rise above the worst.